Have you wondered about timeout? Does it work? Does it not? The answer is no. So in this video, we're going to talk about why timeouts don't work and what to do instead. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, and education, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about to timeout or not to timeout. All right, so let's talk about why the brain doesn't always find the information that it needs to when it's in timeout. What are the bad things that can happen from timeout? Why we don't want to use timeout? And then let's talk about what to do instead. Were you raised with timeout? I was raised with a mother who had a version of timeout. She didn't call it timeout. She told me I had to sit on a chair. She said, go sit on a chair. And she would often put the chair in the corner. It was a little old-fashioned dunce cap-ish style. We didn't wear dunce caps. But anyway, that happened. But I have to honestly say it didn't do much for me. I would sit there for who knows how long. Mom had this idea that I would sit there until I could tell her why I was sitting there. And after you sit there for longer than about 2 minutes and you're a little person, you're like, I don't even know why I'm here. And then they keep saying, why are you there? And you're like, I don't know. They're like, yes, you do. I really don't. Like, you're so far removed. And sometimes it would be just like, go sit on a chair. And you don't know what that response was to. Like, hold on a second. Why? Okay, I'll sit on the chair. But I don't know why I'm on the chair. And then I would be like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Just something to get off the chair because I didn't know why I was there. And she would get so exasperated if she would have to tell us why we were on the chair. She really wanted us to be able to figure out on our own. Well, guess what? Children's brains don't necessarily work that way. Timeouts may stop the moment of craziness, but they don't teach anything. That's the problem with the timeouts. A lot of people are like, I can't handle you. That's why you're going to a timeout. That's actually the message that they generally give people. When they're going to timeout, it's, I need to be isolated. They don't want to be with me. And I think some people think, well, maybe that's the message that they need. If you act that way, people don't want to be with you. But what is really being learned? Are they learning the new way to behave? Are they learning how to solve their problem? The answer is no. So in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting Program, I do not suggest using timeouts. There are multiple reasons why timeouts are not productive. Some of those include things like, how long is the child really going to be there? Do you really know? I heard somebody say years ago, this was a child development person at a university, they said, well, a child should not be in a timeout any longer than 1 minute for each age that they are. Okay, so if you have a 15-year-old, you're going to put them in there for 15 minutes, and is that going to solve the problem? No, because guess what? You hit about age 7, that timeout is not going to work anyway. You're also teaching a person that when they have a problem, they should isolate from you, that they should have to solve their own problem. So what are you for then? The parent is supposed to be the teacher. The parent is supposed to encourage teaching and empowerment, helping the child understand how to handle a problem so that they don't keep having the same problem. If the parent just isolates the person because the parent is having an emotional response at that time, maybe the parent has told themselves, well, the child is safer there. Trust me, I need a minute. Okay, I get that. We may need to have our own calm plans. We can talk more about what to do for the parent calm plans so that you're actually ready to do teaching when teaching is required. But if you are just removing your child to a timeout so that you get time to check your phone and to decompress and those types of things, then actually you're not really living your role very well and you're not getting yourself ready. Okay, so we should be knowing what we need to do right in those moments. And our children should know that we're going to teach, not just react. And really, a timeout spot is more of a reaction spot. So what I like to use is instead for small children, ages 7 or under, never over age 7 unless they are developmentally 7 or under, I use what I call a calm down spot. Sounds similar, right? But it's not the same thing. In fact, the calm down spot teaches the person how to choose to get calm, which is really what we're trying to instill in our child. It is a trigger spot that triggers the child to be calm, to choose calmness, instead of a place just to isolate a person until they figure something out, who knows what. Let's talk in a little bit more detail about the time limits that people associate with timeout. If you say, say you need to sit in a timeout for 10 minutes. Maybe the child's 10, maybe that seems appropriate, but let's say in 10 minutes they're still upset, because sometimes if a person goes all the way to back brain, it can take up to 20 minutes for their brain chemicals to cycle forward and for them to become fully into front brain, which is that place where they can actually solve their problem. What have you taught them if they have to sit there angry for 10 minutes, they get off 10 minutes later, they're still angry? Are you going to keep them there because who knows why? Or is something actually going to be learned in this experience? The thing with a calm down spot is you can teach the child ahead of time, pre-teach them. We're going to go to a calm down spot when things are like this. I'm going to gently take you by the arm and say, right now you're not calm. We need to go to the calm down spot. And then you will only go to the calm down spot if you are not calm. You will only stay in the calm down spot until you choose to be calm. Now that means a person could be there for 20 minutes, but you know what happens most of the time is that they'll learn very quickly, well, if I just take a breath and say, I'm calm on the way to the calm down spot, then mom will turn to me and say, oh, you chose to be calm. You don't even need to go to the calm down spot. Now let's talk about the situation that happened. Perfect. Or if they get to the calm down spot and they go, oh, I better choose to get calm. I'm going to take some breaths, and then I'm going to choose to be calm, and I'm going to say, okay, mom, I'm calm. Then mom's going to come, she's going to praise me, give me a big hug and a high five. No negative energy whatsoever. That was just a place to choose calmness. I teach them about that place ahead of time when they're very little. It's always the same spot, and if we go to a new place that's outside of the home, we identify where the calm down place is in case we need it. This helps everybody prepare to use the calm down spot no matter which circumstance we're in. The calm down spot provides purposeful structure, not just isolation. There is a reason for them to be there. They get something out of it, and they don't have to go to the calm down spot if they're already choosing calmness. Everything points back to them having a choice, which is the key to self-government. We need to teach our children that they can self-govern themselves, that they can choose calmness. The next video that I have that's called The Calm Parenting System That Makes Boundaries Stick is going to be a great next video for you so that you can start learning more of the skills that you need besides just that there is this thing called a calm down spot. I'll see you there.